Why does almost no one talk about this black powder? Because weak soil can keep people buying more fertilizers, stimulants, and expensive solutions year after year. But a method that helps the soil itself become richer, more alive, and more stable is not nearly as profitable to sell. A lot of gardens look alive from above, but below the surface, the story is often very different. The soil is dry, tired, and losing value faster than people can replace it. That is why people keep buying more root boosters, more mineral feed, more liquid formulas that promise stronger plants in just days. But sometimes the real problem is not that the soil lacks input. Sometimes the real problem is that the soil cannot hold on to what it receives. Water escapes, nutrients move away, life struggles to stay. And that changes everything. Because if the soil itself is weak, every new product becomes temporary. The result may look promising for a moment, but the system underneath still leaks. So today, this is not a story about feeding plants one more time. It is a story about rebuilding the soil itself. And that black material is called biochar. At first glance, biochar looks too simple to matter. Just black fragments, just powder, just something most people would overlook. But the value is not in the color. The value is in the structure. Because biochar is not meant to behave like a flashy instant fertilizer. It works more like a long-term support system inside the soil. Biochar is not the same as ash, and it is not just burned leftovers from a fire. It is a stable, carbon-rich material made by heating biomass with very little oxygen. That process leaves behind a porous carbon structure, and those pores matter, because weak soil often lacks not only nutrients, but architecture. It lacks places for water, air, microbes, and dissolved minerals to stay. In other words, poor soil is often not just hungry, it is unstable. And unstable soil wastes everything faster. This is why biochar became such an interesting idea, not because it feeds plants directly like a miracle product, but because it can help the soil become less wasteful and more capable of holding value over time. The modern fascination with biochar is strongly connected to one of the most famous soil stories in the world, Terra Preta, the dark earths of Amazonia. Researchers link these dark soils to pre-Columbian communities. They were not ordinary surrounding soils. They were darker, richer, and far more fertile than the land around them. Terra Preta is generally described as soil built over long periods through charcoal-rich residues, organic matter, pottery fragments, food waste, bones, and daily life. That means the idea was not a one-time trick. It was a slow way of building fertility into the ground itself. Most descriptions place these dark earths within roughly the last 500 to 2,500 years. So the core principle behind biochar is not new at all. It is an old answer to a very old problem: how to make weak soil hold more life. And that is why this matters now. Because the modern gardener faces the same frustration in a new form. Weak soil, expensive inputs, fast losses, disappointing returns. So how does biochar help? Not by magic, by structure. Its porous surfaces can help hold moisture, hold dissolved nutrients, and create microspaces that support soil life. If poor soil is a bad house for roots, biochar can help improve the house. Not overnight, not perfectly, but enough to change how the soil behaves. That does not mean biochar replaces compost. It does not replace mulch. It does not replace organic matter, good watering, or living soil biology. It works best as part of a system. And this is where many people make a mistake. They treat it like a miracle powder. They dump it straight into poor soil and expect instant transformation. But fresh biochar can act like a sponge at first. If it enters the soil empty, it may temporarily hold on to available nutrients before plants can benefit. That is why preparation matters. One of the smartest ways to use it is to charge it first. That means letting it absorb nutrients and biology before it goes into the bed. And one of the easiest ways to do that is with compost. When biochar sits in compost, it becomes far more useful. Instead of entering the soil empty, it enters already connected to nutrients and microbial life. That changes the way it behaves in the garden. Another option is soaking it in compost tea or a gentle, nutrient-rich organic liquid. The idea is the same. Do not send it into the soil empty. After that, it is mixed into the soil rather than left in a separate layer. That matters because roots need contact with the improved zone. The goal is not decoration. The goal is a better root environment. Where can it help most? Usually where soil struggles to stay productive. Sandy soil, tired beds, hot gardens that dry too quickly. Places where every input seems to disappear too fast. What does that mean in practice? First, the soil may hold moisture better. That matters when water becomes expensive and heat becomes harder on the garden. Second, useful nutrients are less likely to rush away from the root zone. And third, the soil itself becomes more stable over time, not just temporarily fed, but more capable of supporting growth. This is why the phrase black gold works so well here. Not because the material is glamorous, but because it helps create the conditions that make soil more valuable again. In the end, the real lesson is bigger than biochar itself. Healthy soil is not built by endlessly buying new products. It is built by making the ground better at holding life, water, and fertility. And maybe that is exactly why simple old methods still matter so much today. Because when everything gets more expensive, the smartest solution is often not to buy more. It is to rebuild the soil so it can work for you.